Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store for such products like the Zoom H1 Portable Digital Recorder. Affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and this is an interesting story because if you just read the headline here, IGN fires editor-in-chief for alleged misconduct. You might be thinking to yourself, but-a-dum, ha, another one bites the dust. And maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. It's a bit more complicated than that as a whole. Now, we're going to go through this, obviously, but I want to start by talking about Dave Chappelle. On Netflix, just the other day, they released 2 new comedy specials of his, and the second one is a very spontaneous and intimate set at a small club in Los Angeles called The Bird Redemption. That's the name of the special. I highly recommend it. It's really funny, but it's also extremely topical about where we are right now. And he makes a comment, well, actually most of it had to do with the Harvey Weinstein situation, but in there, he talks about how to combat this problem of sexism in the industry, you need men. You need men to be allies. And sometimes allies make mistakes. And then he brought up the case about Ben Affleck, and Ben Affleck coming out and saying that this is wrong, this is bad. And then someone's like, you grabbed a titty in 9 to 5. And he's like, I'm out. And that's how it's going to go. Now, we're in this very, very, very witch hunt mode. It's still been going on. It's going to continue for probably the foreseeable future. And IGN, from what I can tell in regards to this, yeah, they bought it hook, line, and sinker, because this is the mentality that comes out of San Francisco. This is the mentality that comes out of this games industry now, where nobody who gets accused can walk away free and clear. If you have alleged misconduct levied against you in the games industry, you're done. There's no question about it now. You are done whether you've done something or not. Because in this case, it's the alleged misconduct. When we find out more about that you'll go, what? And yes, it's insane. Now, I don't normally like to link to Kotaku. Not a Kotaku fan. Jason Schreier, not a fan. But the dude does good reporting, so I'm willing to look the other way in this particular case. Look, you can like the artist's work, but just not like the artist. And in this regard, I will always kind of revert back to Schreier as being good in that regard. Now, it says here, the massive gaming website IGN has fired its editor-in-chief, Steve Butts, after an investigation into alleged workplace misconduct, the company said today. Yes, his name is Steve Butts. I know what you're thinking. Dun 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 dun. Oh, I like Steve Butts and I cannot lie. Actually, no one at IGN is saying that right now. We are on the internet because it's funny, but everyone at IGN who pretty much turned against him a few months ago, yeah, that's kind of where we are. It says here, IGN initiated an investigation into alleged misconduct involving Steve Butts. As a result of the investigation, the company has appropriately determined to part ways with Mr. Butts, said IGN General Manager Mitch Galbraith in a statement to Kotaku this afternoon. You got to love it that they released a statement to Kotaku. Kotaku doesn't have a further reach than IGN, but they probably wanted to go to a more sympathetic outlet. Either that or Polygon would have been their best choice. I mean, Christ, John over there at Rock Paper Shotgun would have been gobbling Mitch's balls here in order to get this scoop. Anyway, the news comes 2 months after former IGN employee Kallie Plagge, whatever, accused her former coworker Vincent Ignatio of sexually harassing her and another woman. Ignatio was let go in March 2017. The Monday after Plagge made those accusations, IGN's editorial staff had several meetings about what happened and eventually decided to put out a statement committing to fix what is broken within the company's culture, i.e., gather up your torches and your pitchforks, we're going cubicle to cubicle, let's clean this place out. That's basically what happened. Now, the situation with that I did cover, I looked into it, and if you read the stories, the corresponding statements from both Vince and Kallie, you can kind of see that there was maybe some, some friendship that might have gone a little bit too far, but ultimately it really felt like it was kind of a non-issue that was turned into an issue. And even he came out afterward and was like, hey, I'm sorry I did anything. If I did anything, they went through PR. PR found them to kind of not be a problem. And that wasn't enough. Because keep in mind, that's where we are right now. And I know that that's a horrible thing to say, but it's true. This is where we are in regards to these situations. You can go to human resources or go, I said PR, I meant HR. You can go to human resources and they can investigate and they can go, well, we didn't really find anything wrong here. That's not good enough. right? Because we're in this listen and believe society. We're in this listen and believe culture that if you even remotely question the statement, the narrative, then it's you're branded a victim blamer. And that's one of the big things Chappelle talked about in that comedy special, which is one of the reasons why I brought it up and one of the reasons why I highly recommend it. It's extremely poignant right now when looking into Hollywood entertainment and enthusiast press, and how this particular revelation about Harvey Weinstein has just created this ripple, right? Logan Paul could only hope to create this kind of ripple. But that's true. That's what's going on here. Now, during one of those meetings, someone accused Butts of harassment, according to a person who was in the room. The accuser did not share more details in the meeting, but IGN consequently began investigating what happened. So they had this big staff meeting. After, of course, the IGN, like half the staff was like, "We refuse to work." Yeah, because that's how this works. You know, something happened months ago by people who don't work there anymore, and you refuse to work until it's taken care of? Okay, sure. If the problems are gone, essentially, then what's the problem? But this, of course, is IGN, and I think people really just wanted a half day of work. But that being said, in this particular meeting, you know, when they're having these discussions, I'm pretty sure somebody made that accusation, and IGN then went and looked into it. But it goes on to say, Butts had been working from home since then, according to one person familiar with goings-on at the company. Throughout November and December, Butts did not come into the office, as staff were left whispering and waiting to see whether he would come back. One IGN staffer described it to me as awkward and uncomfortable, the elephant in the room. Of course it's an elephant in the room. When someone makes an accusation, a public accusation in that regard, in terms of this meeting, and then that member is sent home for 2 months while there's an investigation being conducted, there's no way that person would come back. At that point, the trust and credibility of that employee, regardless of whether crime they committed or not committed, is gone. If they were found to be innocent, they would come back and still have that stigma on their back. They wouldn't last. And I correctly predicted that, by the way, earlier, about a year ago, when Colin Moriarty made that comment on International Women's Day, or A Day Without a Woman, that's what it was. And he was let go from Kind of Funny, or he was kind of benched from Kind of Funny. And I said he was going to quit, and then he was going to move out of living with Greg. And I was right on both accounts, because this is how it works. And this was before the Harvey Weinstein thing. But this is how it works. Once the accusation has been put out there and given any credence past just like, okay, and then a quiet investigation into it, there's no coming back. Public perception is where it's at. You know, you could find out down the road that, like, you know, many women lied about Harvey Weinstein. Won't even matter. Right? Won't even matter. It won't matter. The truth has already been set. The internet's truth in this regard has already been set. And so that's what I'm talking about here. Now, in Plagge's statement about Ignatio, she mentioned a boss who she felt mishandled the situation. That boss, Plagge told me in November, was Butts. He told me, don't be so uptight about it. And she said then, as I said on Twitter, he would also say things like, I just want this unpleasantness to be over, like we're causing lots of problems. And then Butts did not immediately, return a response there. So here's okay. That's what I'm talking about at the end there. Okay. She went to him, the boss, and she said, there's this problem. And, he was like, oh, I just want this to be over with, which is a natural human reaction to unpleasantness in the office space. When there's drama in the office space, and keep in mind that when HR looked into the situation and basically found both parties to kind of be acting a little bit inappropriately and told both to knock it off, which is what happened. Obviously, Kallie was not happy with that. She went to her boss to complain, and he probably was like, I just want this unpleasantness to end. And she's like, you don't believe me. You don't support me. You don't care about my feelings. You monster. You horrible bastard. I mean, I'm exaggerating for effect, obviously, but that's essentially where we are right now. Right? She told Jason Schreier back in November that Butts was the guy. Here it is, January, and Butts is gone. I'm just wondering any relation to Sarah Butts. But the point is, you've got the situation. You've got an accusation for alleged misconduct. But the misconduct is that he just told his underling that he wanted the unpleasantness, the drama to end after HR did an investigation and found both parties were effectively at fault. And if you read the statements from both people, you can basically see a little bit of that, right? You see Vincent coming out and saying, like, this is what happened. This is what went on. Here's detailed explanations. And Kallie's just like, they told me to cover up my boobs. as if inappropriate dress in the workplace, even with cleavage, is not something that is going to get you noticed by HR eventually. That's the point I'm trying to say here, is you've got the situation, and it almost appears that Steve Butts is an innocent person in this regard. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, you might be thinking to yourself, it's time to, to bust out a Queen song. Another one is gone. Another self-serving male feminist anti-Gamergate asshole from San Francisco has just been smited. We're not getting any of that information. If that is true, this article, which apparently has intimate knowledge of the inner workings of IGN during the course of the last couple months, did not mention it. And I think that Jason Schreier would have immediately mentioned what that alleged misconduct was. The only example of such was just what Kallie said. And if he simply responded with, I just want this unpleasantness to end, and that is enough ultimately to cost this man his job, what kind of world are we leaving for the next generation? What kind of world is going to be there for my daughter when she becomes of age? When listen and believe becomes the law of the land, when somebody saying, I just don't want to be in on the drama, is enough to get you fired because you didn't listen and believe. That, my friends, is a huge problem, a huge red flag. And sadly, no one at IGN is going to step up and say anything because they're all at this point absolutely positively afraid for their jobs. They're afraid for their careers. If you say the wrong thing, if you espouse your opinion about there being an unpleasantness about all of this, it can cost you your job because you'll then be accused of harassment. And once that comes down the pipeline, once they put that H scarlet letter on your shirt, you're done. It is pathetically sad where we find ourselves right now. However, I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. So let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. If you haven't already, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, check back often for more content from me. And if you want to see more content from me, you can do so right now.